Very excited about our guests today. Thank you all for coming in. I know we're coming from near and far, so it's great to gather here in Denver. But let's just kick it off. And just so you know, I'm on the other side of Bing Ventures. I'm on Bing X, the actual crypto exchange based in Singapore. I'm head of media for North America, so I oversee Canada, North America, and everything in between. So we service over 5 million users in 100+ regions. So any way that we can help out or collaborate, please let me know. I'll be here all night. Okay, let's get our panel up here.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I have two handicaps, which is that I'm French and I'm sick. So my name is Gaëtan, I'm part of Blockdaemon. If you don't know Blockdaemon, we're the largest independent blockchain infrastructure provider. We run about 80,000 validated nodes on 50+ chains. We've raised $400 million in 21, and our focus is really around institutional adoption. So we have JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, SoftBank, Tiger, a bunch of large institutional players in the space on our cap table, and also, as by way of that, became our customers. We provide, as I mentioned, validated nodes for 50+ blockchains, and our promise to our customers is that every services we provide are institutional grade. And the second line of business is data access, so dedicated nodes or API to get access to different blockchains data through APIs or otherwise. And the last one, which I'm most excited about and is a really cool thing for us and for the space, I believe, is we're pushing self-custody for institutions through an acquisition that we made called CPR, which is a cryptographic firm that is based in Europe. So we're going to be rolling out on the market this ability for institutions to self-custody and deploy MPC-based solution for their own end users. So that's something that's, I think, really big for the space and that we are very excited about. I didn't mention, but I'm the head of protocol partnerships, and I work with our founder and CEO, Konstantin, who built the company in 2017. Nice to meet you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Anne. I have a similar handicap because I'm also French-Canadian. Yeah. I'm CMO at Galaxy. What we do at Galaxy is we help other brands, protocols, DAOs, anyone in Web3 to better engage and incentivize their community. So I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit further down, but I don't know if anyone here has participated in OP Quests, Optimism Quests, show of hands. Okay. Polygon Degen Quest, so that's us. Basically, we're the infrastructure behind it that allows really any protocol to incentivize users to do actions on-chain and off-chain and then reward them with either tokens, NFTs, so loyalty programs on-chain. And
I don't have a handicap, except the fact that my voice is almost gone because I've been talking all day. My name is Joe. I'm the founder and CEO of Hype Lab. We are a Web3 ad network that uses on-chain data in order to do our targeting and personalization of ads. On the one side, we help advertisers show ads to Web3 audiences, and on the other side, we help publishers actually make money by showing ads on their site. And these are all Web3 properties.
All right. Hey guys, I'm Sammy. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Transact. And Transact is a fiat on-ramp. So we power the buy button for over 170 monthly active applications. This includes wallets like Trust Wallet, MetaMask, Coinbase Wallet. We also work with DeFi apps like Aave and games like Decentralized. And to put it simply, we're a way to buy crypto. The two major differences between us and a normal crypto exchange like Bing X is that one, we send crypto directly to a user's wallet. So we kind of empower that self-custody. And the second major difference is that we're mostly B2B company. So we get integrated into other applications, and then we help the end users of those apps to buy crypto. Okay? And our mission is to empower Web3 developers to onboard their global users. So we want to make Web3 applications accessible to mainstream users. Yeah, great to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Matthew. I do marketing growth at RSS3, and if you haven't heard of RSS3, we are a data aggregation business, and we aggregate data on 9 major EVM blockchains, as well as some decentralized protocols like Nostr and Farcaster and that sort of thing. And we kind of have a two-pronged approach to the way we operate. The first thing we do is we use our API that we built to help other protocols, projects integrate good data aggregation into their thing. So like assistant search and that sort of thing on the EVM. And the other prong of our business is a Web3 search engine that we just released 2 or 3 weeks ago called hoops.it. It's open to the public now, you can try it. It's fast, it's the most cross-chain search engine in Web3 out right now. And yeah, that's it for me.
Okay, great intros, everybody. Thank you. So next up, in just a very short sentence, please share what you're most excited about within the Web3 space.
I think, well, I'll double down on MPC, I think. So if you guys don't know about Sepior, S-E-P-I-O-R, it's a cryptographic firm out of Denmark. It's 30 PhDs out of this really cool university there. We've been developing some really nice patents and cryptographic methodology to implement MPC to secure digital assets. They were the first to launch a production-grade MPC implementation for institutions in 2018. They're now used by NASDAQ, Copper, Metaco, Saibavo, who was acquired by Circle, a bunch of non-financial institutions as well, like Rolex, Volkswagen, all of that. And what I find most exciting about these guys is that they're rolling out this product to enable self-custody at an institutional level. So we talked a lot about not your keys, not your crypto. What the founder of this company will tell you is that is true, but there's also a lot of other aspects to it, like do you control your transaction policies? Do you control where the MPC nodes are hosted? Is it on-premise or not? And as far as we know, they're the only one to be able to deploy MPC technology on-prem for institutions, and we think it's very revolutionary and really cool. And so that's going to be part of the big announcement that we'll be rolling out in 23. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Mine is maybe a little bit basic, but being a non-technical person in the Web3 space, my main goal is getting more and more mass onboarding, and I think that the news with Base in the last few weeks has been really, really exciting. I think that that is going to be really going to help people come to our space. So yeah, it's a little bit of a basic answer, but the new Base is, I was really impressed. I think it's going to be really good for us as an industry, bringing new people in and just, growing. So yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
For me, I'm most excited about ads in Web3, obviously. I think in the past 6 months or so, a lot of Web3 growth and marketing companies have started. And I'm really excited about kind of seeing, how they're going to be affecting, how we do user acquisition in Web3, what kind of innovative things that they could improve on from the Web2 experiences as well. When I started Hype Lab, one of the big problems that we identified was that in Web3, user acquisition is really tough. There's not a lot of great ways to do attribution. There's no great way to, measure your ROI. A lot of people just pay a lot of Twitter influencers to go shill their projects, and it's very scammy and it just doesn't really work. And so with a lot of these new ad tech and marketing kind of projects coming on board to Web3, I believe that we're going to get a lot better user acquisition kind of tools, and also kind of better ways to help a lot of projects and companies actually acquire users in a scale distribution kind of way. And so I'm really excited about that. And of course, on the other side, Hype Lab is an ad network, so we work with a lot of publishers. One of the other phenomena that I've seen in Web3 is that a lot of Web3 companies, they are not real companies. They don't make money, right? And ads have been a great way of monetizing platforms since the beginning of the internet. It's worked for the last 30 years. And I believe that it can actually help open up new revenue streams for a lot of Web3 companies as well. And so, really excited to help, Web3 projects and dApps and gaming companies, et cetera, monetize their platform, so they don't have to think about monetization and they can only focus on what they're actually good at, which is building their games, building a DeFi protocol, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. So at Transact, we're all about making Web3 applications accessible to mainstream users. So what I'm really excited about right now is gaming. I see that in the gaming sector, there's a big opportunity to onboard mainstream users, because in these games, we're starting to see a trend that they're making it very easy to onboard using fiat, to not pay gas fees by doing gas relaying, and to sign in with a wallet just using your email address. And I'm actually seeing this trend happening now, and we're seeing a shift of people, of applications onboarding large amounts of volume through Whales, to actually having mainstream Web3 games where you can onboard large amounts of users. And to me, that's very exciting, because we're kind of at this tipping point where now crypto is something that actually people use, and Web3 applications are something that people use. And I think that Web3 games could be that entry point into that. So I think that in the future, they won't call them Web3 applications, they'll just call them apps. And I think we're starting to get to that point, so I'm super excited about that.
So what I have to say kind of ties in with what you just said, Sam. I'm excited for ease of use for new users in Web3 or crypto in general. So how that ties into RSS3 is what we've been doing is making a human-readable search engine. So it's kind of like a block explorer, but there's pretty much every major EVM chain in one thing, and it's like human-readable format. I mean, you can still go and get the transaction hash if you want to, but I mean, 90% of us aren't going to be able to understand that at all, and we have it simply laid out to where anyone can interpret a transaction that they search for.
My kind of takeaway from this, and Eth Denver in general, I feel like we're also focused on onboarding the next billion users in any aspect. BingX kind of prides ourselves on that in crypto as well. And honestly, I think that it's been really inspiring given the ecosystem and everything that's happened. We're all still focused on growth, and not only growth, but like creating the actual products that are going to service those users that we're onboarding, whether it's building communities, figuring out their data, the Web3 angle, marketing. I'm seeing such a trend of, figuring out how we're gonna handle data now that it's gonna be pretty much on chain, and, creating companies that are going to tailor to that. So super exciting that we're all still focused on that. But let's get into some more specific questions. So let's start with Transact. So I want to hear a little bit about your growth last year, and not only that, but growing within the bear market and how you're kind of focused on staying ahead.
So Transact, we grew more than 50% last year, despite the down market, and our volume was $370 million last year, which is our biggest year so far, and we've now reached over 170 monthly active applications, including like a lot of the biggest names in the space. And I think that the focus for us kind of going forward is going to be really focusing on decentralized apps. So right now we're pretty much in most of the major wallets. We're in MetaMask, Trust Wallet, like all of these kind of big wallets. We're very interested now in the dApp market. So we're looking at like games, we're looking at DeFi apps, we're looking at CeFi apps. We see a lot of potential there because there's just going to be like thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of these applications. So we're really just trying to focus on the customer and look at what they need, and starting to see some of the different problems solving in those sectors. So for example, we're seeing games, it's a lot about convenience, maybe like smaller transaction sizes, like using credit cards and Apple Pay and these kind of things, and using kind of hybrid wallets and doing gas relays. And then we're also seeing like in the CeFi and DeFi markets, we're looking at like larger transaction sizes, more kind of bank transfer transactions rather than credit cards, more like custodial type wallets scenarios. So we're kind of angling ourselves into these markets and starting to build out some of the features there. And we're really excited about this because Transact is actually starting to become not just a fiat on-ramp, but it's starting to become like an onboarding developer toolkit. So we're providing a bunch of developer tools for these apps to onboard their users right from starting on the page to getting their money into the application and using it. So yeah, we're really pumped for 2023 and for that next chapter.
Thank you so much. Okay, next I want to go to Matthew of RSS3. I'm a little bit interested in the infrastructure angle. So how have you been testing different products and what kind of data are you collecting and synthesizing? And then how are you making decisions based on that?
Cool. So I'll start out with what kind of data we synthesize. So we synthesize Web3 data as well as some decentralized protocol data, like I mentioned earlier, things that aren't on chain like Nostr and that sort of thing, just decentralized protocols as well. And so that's the kind of data that we synthesize. And as far as like product direction and that sort of thing, we focus on making it as easy as possible for users. And that's really our primary concern. And on all fronts, it's just ease of use and making the website as fast as possible. Because when you're pulling data from 15 different decentralized protocols, things can be very slow, but our engineers are good and they're very fast. So other than that, when we make product direction decisions, outside of just making it as simple as possible for new users, we like to ensure that the protocols we integrate into our search engine are decentralized and quality.
I feel like a nice pipeline to that would be hearing a little bit about the branding and marketing angle. So Hype Lab, you are up next. So the general question is, what are some cost-effective ways that crypto startups can do marketing and reach the right audience?
Got it. I think when it comes to cost-effective ways, I think advertising in general is just very expensive in general. But I think it really depends on what kind of project you actually are, right? Like if you're an NFT project versus if you're a DeFi project, right? The LTV of your user is actually going to be very, very different. And so these companies all have different kind of budgets for what they can spend to acquire that user. And so, what's funny is that, at this stage of where we are in the crypto kind of journey, a lot of companies don't actually even know what the LTV of their user is, right? I remember I was having a conversation with the DeFi protocol about a few months ago, and I asked them, what is your LTV? And they literally told me, what do you mean? Loan to value? Right? So it's like we're at a place where, a lot of these people don't know. And so without even knowing what the value of your customer is, it's really hard to figure out, how much you can actually spend in order to acquire a new user. Now, of course, there's new kind of, things in the crypto space like communities and, organic growth and all these other things. But in order to even start those things, you kind of need the top of the funnel traffic in order to drive users into those communities in the first place. And that's what we kind of do in Hype Lab. We try to, go at the top of the funnel. We try to get to as many people as possible. We try to show these ads, in as many places as possible to reach the right audiences. And so for a lot of these companies, really the most cost-effective way is to get in front of the right audience. And for us, we believe that the right audience is someone who is actually a Web3 user. And so when a lot of these companies, try to do user acquisition through traditional methods like Google or Facebook, first of all, they're going to run into a lot of problems from the regulatory side and also just policy side where they can't run these ads. But second of all, a lot of their ads are just being shown in Web2 properties. And because of that, they're not able to actually get the conversions that they want, and it's just going to be much more expensive. And so what we do at Hype Lab is we use on-chain data in order to kind of make broad categorizations of whether someone is a DeFi user, someone owns NFTs, has played Web3 games, what the value of their wallet actually is, and we're able to target the most personalized ads for these people, and so that the ads that they see are relevant to that person.
Okay, and you're going to be up next only because it makes perfect sense to hear a little bit about these communities themselves. So I'm curious, Anne, how are you guys engaging and incentivizing these communities within the Web3 space?
Yeah, for sure. So Galaxy, once again, is a tool. So if you're in protocol, you're going to use the tool, but the limit does not exist in terms of your imagination and how you want to reward these users. So just recapping again, the users do a task, we credential, let's say your DEX protocol. You could say, okay, trade, yield, stake, do this, do that. Or we can do off-chain, like participate in Twitter space, whatnot. And then what we encourage our partners to do is really to be creative with it. So number one rule is long-term. If you come in and do like, okay, we're gonna do a campaign and have people do a task and just give them some silly little NFT that's not worth anything and leave and not, retain and engage again, people don't like that. So that's why actually Galaxy, we're working on a loyalty point system where people will be able to come in, after multiple campaigns and accumulate more points. And then, I don't know if you're wondering about like what these NFTs kind of hold as utility for them. Okay, so there's so many different options, but like gated chats, exclusive merch, maybe a promise for a future airdrop, although we don't like to say that because we don't want to cause too much speculation, but it's really up to the partner to kind of decide what you can do with it. So yeah.
You're up next. So you guys, I'm kind of curious, you grew from a $20 million valuation startup to a 200 plus employee company. So what would you say is one of the most important lessons you've learned while scaling? And can you tell us a little bit more about how you've ingrained like culture, because that's very valuable in Web3, and how you've maintained that as you've grown?
Yeah, thank you. So Series A was 28 million in 2020, end of 2020, and we raised a round of over 200 million in December 21, so about slightly over a year ago. And yet, to your point, we went from, in that period of time, in like a year and a half, we went from maybe 50 people to 200 plus, 250, near 300 people. And I think I've been at the company for about a year, so I haven't been there since the beginning, but what I've noticed, which is kind of surprising to me in Web3, is that at Blockdaemon, there's still a lot of people that were there at the beginning that still are here today. And that seemed like a lifetime ago for, I guess, the scale of the company and the speed of the growth. And I'm saying that because I think from a cultural perspective, just for context, we're like a fully remote company. We don't have any offices. We have people in APAC, in Europe, Middle East, the entire American continent. And so the core principle that we operate on are really around transparency. And we have a lot of like company-wide meetings, and we have like a Slack channel that's like overwhelmed by messages and stuff, but what that transpire ultimately from a cultural standpoint is this kind of like radical transparency where the CEO is very transparent about what a company is, what we do, where we act, what our product look like, what we should be telling our customers, how we should be thinking about the future, not only of our customers, of our product, and of our company. So that's been one aspect of the culture that's very important. The second aspect is like we've been very pragmatic. Like a recent example is that we had to change our like technical roadmap just to be able to accommodate the Base project. So Blockdaemon is one of the 3 core infrastructure provider of Base. We have a really strong relationship with Coinbase. Our CEO was on stage yesterday with Jesse Pollack, the head of protocols Coinbase, talking about Base and the future of like onboarding the next billion. Well, let's onboard 1 billion already, and then we'll see the next one. But the message is the next billion. And so I think being pragmatic and being opportunistic has also been part of our DNA and how we kind of like have been able to see and follow our customers to see the growth that we've seen. So yeah, I would say transparency, pragmatism, opportunistic, and ultimately conviction. Like kind of a funny story, when our founder and CEO raised money in 2017 and tried to sell nodes and say to VCs, hey, we're going to be selling nodes to enterprises and bring them to blockchains. 99% of these meetings were like, you're crazy, that'll go nowhere. And 5 years later, he's got a $3.5 billion company, and that is only because he believed in his convictions and like just went through and persevered. So I think that's part of like what has been some of the principle of the growth of Blockdaemon so far.
That's awesome. You guys have had amazing growth, so that's very, very commendable. So I'm going to ask one more question to each of them. It's all going to be the same question. So, what is one sentence that you're approaching 2023 with?
The first thing that pops into my head when I think of a sentence for my goals in 2023 would just be user acquisition. At RSS3 with our search engine, we're already receiving 1 billion with a B requests per month in the search engine, but I want to make it 2.
Okay, so if I had to sum it up, just being very developer-centric and giving developers what they need to onboard their users. So we've progressed beyond fiat on-ramp. We're now offering NFT checkouts, so buy NFTs with fiat, and then also transact one, so execute any smart contract with fiat, so you can buy like USDC and then execute Aave. So yeah, we're just kind of listening to developers and trying to give them what they need to onboard their users.
That was not one sentence.
Yeah. It's okay.
For us, it's pessimists sound smart, but optimists make money.
I'm gonna go with our new tagline that we just developed last week, which is "Your Web3 community is waiting." So that's kind of what we're going into 2023 with: building community, getting your head in the game, and building, and building it some more.
I think the way we think about 23 in one sentence is probably thinking about the path of adoption, the institutional adoption to blockchains is kind of our motto. Like, how do we bring these large institutions, Web 0, Web 1, Web 2, into Web 3? It requires a lot of headache and a lot of work, and we're here to simplify that, so that's kind of like really our focus for the year and the years to come.
Amazing. Those are all great. I feel like we're all very optimistic in general, as we do, right? Like, we want to make money. So I guess I'll give big axes that I'll make up on the spot, but we're really focused on reinstilling trust back into the crypto community, which is kind of our main goal in helping out any communities that we can along the way. So, okay. Does anyone have questions that they're looking to ask any of our panelists? I'll take 2. Cue the Jeopardy music. Okay, here we go.
I can just shout it.
No. Okay, so tell me your name and the question you want to ask, and if it's anybody specific.
It's a general question of John with Native. The question is, what's holding us back? Why are we not there now in terms of adoption?
Ooh. All right, Matthew.
Scams.
Ooh, okay. So we're trying to reinstill trust. That goes hand in hand.
Yeah, so I really think it's just like a series of things. So the way we like to look at it is if you take the onboarding journey of a user and then you like systematically break that down, right? So I think there's discovery, which is like to do with ads, right? And like how do you discover new applications? And then like scams is also part of that, because like you have to build trust so that they will actually try to use it. The next stage is like the wallet stage, right? So you need to set up a wallet. Right now it's like this, get your private keys, seed phrase. It's quite confusing. There are some companies that are solving that. Then the next stage is actually buying crypto. That's what we do. And then the stage after that is you have to pay gas fees. You have to execute a smart contract. There's usually an allowance transaction. Then there's like another transaction. And then you get your money into the app, and then there's like the whole retention game as well. So it's really like a series of things, and I'm very optimistic. I think that there's a lot of great teams that are solving each of those steps. But yeah, there's no like magic bullet. We just got to keep working hard, and I think there is going to be an inflection point, right? So it feels tough because we've been doing this for like so many years, and still like it's such a small niche of people. But I think that at some point, like these problems are going to get solved to a stage where like billions of users really can use it, and then there's going to be like this crazy like hockey stick growth of like Web3. and everything's just going to moon and it's going to be like utopia. So like, let's just keep pushing, and I really think we're going to get there like in the next couple of years. Yeah. Thanks for the question.
I think there's also the jargon of it. Again, being non-technical, it's just we're over-complexifying it and explaining every single thing we do. And I think that once users are using the blockchain without kind of knowing that they're using the blockchain, that's going to be great. I don't know for you guys, but for me, it took me like a month to understand what mint means. And I love NFTs, and I was like, why is it called mint? You know? So it's just all these new terms that don't really kind of mean anything sometimes. So I'm looking forward to, that when that's out of the way, it's going to be easier too.
I'll come back to you if you don't mind. So yeah, I think I'll echo that. Like the abstracting the complexity for users is, I think, key. That being said, I think it raises also a paradox, which is that you don't want your users to know they're using blockchain because it's too complex. You don't know how your iPhone works, and though your grandmother or mother or whoever else might be using it, and it doesn't matter that they don't understand. The paradox to me is also that there are core values that are very important beyond Web3. We could only read, and then we could read and edit, and then we could read, edit, and own. And like this idea of ownership and trust and transparency is fundamental for blockchain. And I don't think it should be lost because it's abstracted from the end users. They should understand that this is also something that's much more reliable, much more trustworthy, much more secure than traditional methods to move money or tokenize assets or do any other use cases that can exist on blockchain. So I'm a little conflicted on that. Like, I feel abstracting the complexity is needed, but at the same time, I don't want to lose the ethos, the ethics of Web3. I want to make sure that this survive. That's why we're excited about self-custody, by the way. But like, we want Web3 to survive and thrive in all its beauty, I would say.
I think everything has like an order of things. And so I think in the past few years, there's been a lot of emphasis on building infrastructure. And so, a lot of projects are building tools and like other kind of infra for other builders to build upon, right? But there hasn't been a lot of consumer apps that are targeted towards regular people that actually have lots of traffic or are fun or, et cetera, right? And so I think we're gonna kind of get to a stage within the next year or two where a lot of people will actually be building consumer apps, and that's when a lot of the normies will actually use this.
Yeah, I think the highlight here that I'm taking out of this is we're really focused on onboarding the next billion users, and we're not really focused on like retaining the ones that are currently on the platforms, which goes to show I don't know if there's an education maybe layer to this that we need to address, but regardless, I think we're getting there together. So does anyone else have any more questions? Here we go, I saw a hand. Okay, give me your name if you want to ask anyone specific, or I can have them all answer.
Yeah, I'm Mira. So I'm just curious, what's the scope of analytics in Web3? I'm new to Web3, so one way to monetize current web applications is like how many users are logging into the app, what they're looking for, what they're searching, what they're buying, and based on that, you target those users with specific ads, right? So, is there any analytical tools we can use in that case?
Yeah, sure, Joe, this might be calling your name. But yeah, what are the tools we're using? Let's see.
I think there's a bunch of tools out there. I think there's a bunch of companies doing, on-chain analytics. You can give them wallet addresses and know a bunch of things about, each of these wallet addresses. What are the values? What have they done, et cetera, et cetera. I think it becomes, a lot more difficult when you kind of apply those in the marketing context, right? Because we don't actually know what a lot of these data mean. And the other part is that, I think there's a whole narrative around how important these like on-chain activities actually mean in terms of the value of the customer or whatnot. But I don't think anyone's been able to definitively prove that just quite yet. And so for us, as an ad network, we care a lot about the data and the type of customers that are seeing the different ads, right? Like for instance, NFT users are generally not DeFi users, and there's rarely an overlap between them, right? And so when we talk with a lot of marketers, they get very into the whole narrative and sounding smart about, can we target, on this thing during this duration to these target users and these wallet addresses. And I basically tell them, you're describing 5 people in our network, right? And are you willing to pay a $500 CPM to show, your ads to these 5 people, right? And generally the answer is no, right? And so what we've noticed is that beyond just going and optimizing and using all the data possible, you have to basically know what the broad categories are that actually matter. And for us, these broad categories are they a DeFi user? Yes, no. Do they own NFTs? Yes, no. Do they play Web3 games? Yes, no. Do they have in-game items? Yes, no, right? And what is the value of their wallet? And even these things are sufficient enough to kind of get you 80 to 90% there. And of course, the remaining, super specific kind of data stuff will just get you that remaining like 10% optimization.
All right. So I think we're gonna wrap up there. I know we have some food coming out. Is there anybody else? Do you guys want to share anything else? Please check out all of these companies and our sponsors as well. We've got merch on all of the tables, stickers, everything over here. So please speak to any of us if you need anything, and we will be wandering around. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming out.